project is saying that the building itself stands as a work of art with an architectural narrative reflecting finished design and sustainability. I think that's a bold claim. I do sort of sometimes get concerned with the idea of having a building that is, you know, a work of art in itself. I think architects should strive to make the best architecture and for allow people on the outside to decide whether or not it's considered art or not. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling. We are back. We are going full screen and we are going to kick off with building 201 rubble. So, okay, oblique aerial view, what I see here. I see a green roof, and then I think something that's sort of weird is how the building itself tonally matches a lot of the image, and that if you sort of squint, the building kind of disappears and becomes a little bit invisible, but I don't know yet if that was the intent. What I do see here is this giant chunky structure with a hole in the middle, and it looks like it's propped up on these little angular boxes, these little feet, so it looks kind of nice. So let's see what we got here. Image 2. Rubble is a contextual proposal exploring narratives of locality, experience, education, and the material question. Waste versus finished material. So I think there seems to be a really nice kind of sustainable concept here in relation to waste, which is good, always refreshing to see. Sketches look very nice. We propose to explore concrete waste, reuse, and recycled potential. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the 201st proposal, and so far it seems to be the only one that has actually kind of planted its flag as, you know, a quote sustainable solution or sustainable proposal. A lot of the projects that have quite a lot of projects have quite a lot of strong sort of sustainable motivations embedded in the project, but this one seems to be like, hey, we're all about waste versus material. We're all about, you know, we're all about exploring and reusing material and the potential of recycled material. And waste from demolition activities in Helsinki accounts for about 21% of all construction waste generated in Helsinki and is mostly concrete. That's a quote. I guess what I'm trying to say here is it's kind of nice to just say, hey, look, we have a big idea or we have an important idea for our proposal. And within that context, through that lens, I think I'm going to actually now look at what I see here visually differently. And I'll talk a little bit about more of that. I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. So look at this. And now all of a sudden I'm curious to see what the facade is made of. So let's see. Central public void and services, singular rock form, reference and context, layered transparencies, porosity of public and private, spatial learning, transition between materials. Image 3. Aha. And now all of a sudden I'm really interested, because if I wasn't sort of aware of why they were doing what they were doing, I'd look at this and think, yikes. But I don't mean that from like an aesthetic point of view. I just mean it in terms of like, you know, what's going on. But they've been quite upfront really with what the intent is for the project. So then when I'm looking at it with that sort of, you know, within that context, I'm much more engaged with what I'm seeing. So what I do see here is a big, giant, real assortment of what I'm assuming is reused material. But then I'm curious about how the detailing sort of works. Is this like a glazed screen behind it? You know what, I have to say, this image down here, for the general organizers of the competition, neither makes or breaks any project. It's really such a waste of an image that's used in the 5, personally. But anyway, that's nothing specific to do with 201. Rubble. And now I understand the name. Interior is really interesting. Nice little detail here. References. 100 to 200 millimeter thick concrete recycled slabs to be used as finished rubble facade elements. But big concern here is how bitty and piecey the project is. And also, because you're not working with any conventional sort of modular element, I know this is going to sound so stupid. What you see here will not be what you get. But this will be an idea of what the facade could be, which is interesting. But ultimately, I'm really thinking hard about this one. Okay, let's say we remove the rubble. What do we have? Is it a glass box? How does the skin work? The building's internal core. The materiality of the project transitions from being raw rubble to refined new recycled concrete. But what is the skin made of? What is the facade made of? This is a bit of a tricky one. Okay, look, I'm conscious of time. I think there's a really pure, sincere attempt to propose something that is incredibly environmentally, conscious and aware. Great, absolutely fantastic. We should be supporting more work like this. I'm really unsure about how it would actually be executed. I have a lot of questions about that. Hopefully we can come back to it. But I like it. I think the images are good. I think the presentation is good. I love the sketches. I like the idea overall. I like the sincerity and the spirit of the project overall. So I think it's good work. So I'm going to move it along. 202. 202. Oh, this thing looks sharp and angular and pointy and a little bit dark and a little bit fussy. And let's see what else we got under here. Image 2. I like the comic book graphic novel style illustration. That's actually really novel and really cool. The programmatic rock. Finnish culture shines. Sculpting for urban integration. Indoor village square. An architectural story. The building itself stands as a work of art. I had this conversation recently actually with two architects about whether or not it's appropriate for a museum to actually in fact compete with the art in which the museum is curated, in which the museum is displaying. I came to the conclusion that there are very good examples of art galleries or galleries in general that can do both, i.e. the work itself, the building, is in a sense a piece of fantastic architecture and art, and it also is sensitive to the exhibition material that it is displaying to the public. There are examples of a lot of architects who have mastered this and they're very good at it. There are a lot of examples, though, of architects who have actually disregarded the entire contents of an exhibition in a museum and a collection and decided to just make something quite loud and bombastic that competes with the art that's being held within it. This project is saying that the building itself stands as a work of art with an architectural narrative reflecting Finnish design and sustainability. I think that's a bold claim in that I suppose we wouldn't know until we ever see it if it was ever to be built, but I do sort of sometimes get concerned with the idea of having a building that is, a work of art in itself. I think architects should strive to make the best architecture and for allow people on the outside to decide whether or not it's considered art or not. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling. Indoor village square, a protective glass canopy. Reminds me a little bit of the British Museum in London. Looks cool though. Maybe it's just something more to do with the quality of the image. I just think it's a bit of a strange image. It's quite dark, the lighting's a bit funky, and it's really exposing the grain and texture of these volumes. That's not a bad thing. It's just, what is it? It's like a shape, right? And then this is a shape, and then it sort of has this like chamfered edge that they come together and they create this triangle. I think generally the projects that have triangular openings, in my opinion, never really work that well. There's something about the visual graphic language of a triangular opening that just feels weird to me. Not windows, just doors, There's something portal-like or kind of, I don't know, weird about it. Image 4. Yeah, I'm sorry, what are we on? I'm sorry, 202. I think the interior is kind of nailed it for me. I don't think I'm a big fan of this project overall. It looks complicated, it looks fussy, it looks difficult to build, it looks expensive to build. Spatially, it's a little bit confused. What is this? Like this opening, and is this designed like I don't know. It feels like a cluster of rocks, and then beneath the canopy, it's like the rocks sort of transform into these like wooden blocks, and everything's just a bit warpy and stretched and swoopy. And like, what is this sort of reflective soffit beneath the connecting bridge? Why is there glass here? Why is it not open? Like, what is happening in here? It's not for me. It's not my taste, personally. Nice images, though. Nice presentation overall. I just think ultimately it's the design that I'm not a fan of. So, not bad work, just not for me. So I'm going to move it along. 203. A48784. Strange name. The building's sleek angular forms in glass and wood play dynamically with Helsinki's historic cityscape, blending old and new. Everyone loves blending old and new. This thing looks a bit weird. Image 2. Possible occupation, setbacks and proposed public hall. Final form adaptations, technical spaces, retail and cafe, terraces and atrium, sustainability. So as always, we have the diagram that shows the big swoop and arrow, the big 180 reveal. But it's funny, right? Because this is public space, but that looks like solar panels. So this surface actually isn't going to be occupied by anyone. But maybe this isn't a diagram explaining like public flow. That's the public space down here inside the little horseshoe, inside the little roundabout. I think these diagrams explain what is there pretty well. I just don't know if they explain why things are where they are very well. No, it's just not very exciting. No, not a big fan of this one. Has a little bit of like ferry terminal, airport, train station atmosphere going on. Big stair breaking through the screen. Weird detail. Strange how the grid of the sort of curtain wall sort of doesn't really respond to the grid of the primary facade. Got this wrinkly, crunkly looking, Pringle looking piece of art / light installation in here. Nah, not for me. Gonna move it along. 204, ripple effect. This looks interesting. I like projects that look like some type of origami or like folded form. I don't know what I'm saying here. Looks interesting. Image 2. This is a beautiful image. These here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Love it. Love this. These look like 2D sort of perspectives or 2D screen grabs from a 3D model with some like light shading on it. Wonderful. My only real concern here for this page is I wish there was less text. Fewer words, more images, but overall, compositionally, it's still a really nice page. Don't like the way the trees are shown. So I'm not going to read all this. Our proposal is envisioned as engaging architectural landmark, cultural beacon, novel public space. Everyone says that. Everyone says that. Come on. What is ripple effect? It is an institution, is more than just, we'll take full advantage of the Helsinki South Harbour. Oh, come on. What is it? A bold yet sensitive interpretation of Finnish design principles. Sorry, for all that text, I'm just not getting a lot. I'm just going to stick to the images. You know, it's funny, actually. This project, sort of, if I described this project to you in a really simple way, I'd also be describing this project to you, which is kind of funny. Kind of interesting, I think. Anyway, image 3. This one's better, though, I think. Love this image. What is the black? What is it made of? Yeah, really strong, confident interior. Don't love all of it, but it's interesting. This, very interesting. Love seeing a gallery. This, very interesting. 3 really nice images. Well done. References. These images, this model, these images, this image, make me think that this looks like a really cool project. I think it's cool. I think it's exciting. I think it looks interesting. I think it could be good. I just wish there was a bit more variety to the overall presentation material. Everything's a bit of like a 3D model, which is fine. Text isn't really explaining a lot to me, but I think it's good. I think this is an exciting project. I think it's good. Well done. Going to move it on, 205. I'm going to sit this down now. Kohonta. Cityscape and urban structure. I'm going to skip here. Interesting though. 4 little blocks all intersecting, some swoopy curves, some nice vertical timber elements from the look of it. Diagrams, question mark, number 1, the site, number 2, creating openings, 3, height adaptation, 4, connections. Yeah, it's basically 4 multiple volumes coming together, space is flowing in between. It's fine. The quality of the images aren't really selling the project to me so much. This sort of doesn't feel so much like the outside. I guess there's a little bit of that visual language visible here. Visual language visible here, yeah. Again, a little crinkly folding thing. Looks kind of nice. Little kid, lost. Where's his parents? Image 5, references. Sketch! Yes, love this sketch. Early concept sketch. Seeing the early concept sketch, I kind of just wish you just kind of stuck with it. The idea is sort of stronger when it's smaller parts. But I don't think this is bad, I just don't think it's that exciting. It's also another variation of that. Oh, another variation of this one in a way, and that one. Yeah. One last time, 1, 2, diagram's nice. Just don't love it. Don't love it. Not bad work, just not in love with it. Moving it along, 206, Sela. This looks interesting, but it looks a little bit fussy. And when I say fussy, I mean, why is this here? How does it relate to that? What is this doing? How does it relate to that? Image 2. Nice drawings. I like the diagrams, this idea of spatial evolution, showing that graphically. That's really nice. Seeing it in plan is one thing, seeing the actual 3D reality of it is another. I think it looks a bit too... I was talking to someone recently about the difference between something being spatially complex and spatially complicated. I think this feels more complicated than it does complex. I'm sure there's a really good rationale to how you've arrived at this sort of formal expression, but I feel like you're being quite willful in sort of arriving here. It just doesn't feel that convincing to me, the way in which we've ended up with what we have. Image 3, quality of the image is poor, sort of low res, not giving a lot away. It is an interesting sort of figurative facade, which I quite like, but down here doesn't help much. Image 4 doesn't help. Although I love all these little funky details. There is something really fun about this type of stuff that I love personally, but then this page feels a little bit out of place somehow. I think there's like a lot of really good ideas and some nice spatial thinking in this project. I just think what you've ended up with isn't that convincing, in my opinion. But it's interesting though. It's interesting. Gonna move it along. 207. Kioski. Kioski. Oh. Kioski. This looks interesting. Gonna get some water. Kioski is an ode to urban life, a gesture of welcoming generosity in Helsinki's meeting spot. Image 2. Diagrams are useful. I sort of think, maybe I'm reading this wrong, I think you kind of nailed it with E. I don't know why you went to F. Does the core need to be this big? As an image, as a concept, this is really interesting. This looks a little bit complicated. Image 3. Personally, I'm sure you've obviously consulted with an engineer, so you know what you're doing, but this sort of expression of these elements, the way that they're expressed, they're just, put it crudely, they're too chunky. I wish this was something a little bit more delicate, thin, lightweight. It looks quite heavy and strong and industrial-like. It doesn't feel so much like a museum in a way. I know it sort of almost unintentionally references, like those gas holder structures that you would see in London. Maybe that's just the round nature of it and the way that the structural frame is expressed. But it is like this exoskeleton isn't really giving me a lot to be excited about from the outside. Although the way that it seems to be planned and organized on the inside is interesting, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm going to sound quite stupid here. Even if it just had a bit of color, like, even if it was all just a bit green, it's more to do with the grayness and the dullness and the blackness of it. Like, we have that here, like, that's beautiful. I wish it was sort of all that color in a weird way. Stupid. I guess a stupid piece of criticism, really, but that's just my takeaway from it. I think this is an interesting project. I worry sort of about the way that the facade is, the way it looks, really. Moving it along, 208. This looks funny. Personally, I kind of like it. There's something alien about it. Not aliens or UFOs, but alien in the sense that it almost unintentionally, it almost doesn't really relate to anything. It's kind of confident, just kind of standing out. It's just like, yep, here I am. I'm this thing that's just here. Come check me out. Image is nice. Image 2. This image is really nice. I really like this. It's like they have sort of identified these key aspects that they want to create openings for. I'm guessing these are also gallery spaces, and then they've just basically, I mean this in a good way, they've sort of bubble wrapped it and just stretched it all out and created this sort of really nice, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but it's this really nice kind of shaped volume, form finding process, twin layer skin, stress analysis. I think I like this quite a bit. Yeah. It's like they've got this sort of concept here with the boxes and the galleries and the spaces. Yeah, they've twisted it. They've sort of prioritized the key aspects in and out, and then they've just sort of shrink wrapped it, which I love. So the external skin, twin layer diagrid structure spanning between the ends of the timber boxes. Its form minimizes wind, snow, and seismic loads on the overall structure. I like this. I like this a lot. And people can walk on the roof. That's exciting. I don't know how feasible it is, but I like it as a concept. This image isn't helping it. It feels very much like a little lump, when in reality it is quite lumpy. But I would be curious to see how the interior spaces feel. Interior space, boom. Oh, it's a bit of a shame actually, because what I would have loved is to see an interior space, but one that is sort of maybe where this little guy is, and seeing how this whole roof structure would kind of work and feel. That would be exciting. I think conceptually speaking, there's a really exciting project here. I think the way in which a lot of it has been communicated graphically and visually, from a diagrammatic point of view, like this page, for example, although I don't love the text in the middle, I think these diagrams are really helpful. I think this image is really interesting. I think these images are less interesting. I think my problem with the interior is the choice of interior, not the quality of the interior image. And in image 5 is just references, sections, nice. But I would have loved to have seen how these spaces worked, Nice seeing the sketches. I think this is a really cool project. I don't think it sells itself in the best way possible in 5 images. Curious to see what other people think. But I actually really like it. So 208, big fan of your project. Good work. Also, I don't think I've seen anything like this so far, I have to be honest, which is nice. It's nice to know that we can still discover not necessarily new typologies, but just, there are still architects out there who are doing different things. I mean, I'm sure the references are quite clear to a lot of people where they've borrowed elements and what has inspired them, but it's nice for me to see after 208 entries that we're still seeing stuff that looks new. So that's good. Good. Moving on, 209. Simpuka. This is a green building. This is very difficult to read. I do find that the projects that are often quite difficult to read from an aerial view are usually the worst projects, but maybe I'll be proved wrong. But this looks like a big green, big green blob. Big green blob. Oh, yeah. Image 2, all text, absolutely not helping. Image 3, graphically it's nicer, but it's still not giving me a lot. I don't know what this is. Are these trees you will be planting? How long will it take for these trees to actually grow? This image feels nothing like this image. This interior perspective is sort of nice, but sort of isn't telling me anything. It's weird to have such a strong stair-like feature in your lobby that you, in a way, you're almost not encouraging people to use because it's right next to the escalator. Now, I am being careful here that I'm not contradicting myself in previous entries where I talk about accessibility and the importance of someone who can't take the stairs being able to have the same experience as someone who can take the stairs. So I understand in a way, maybe from an accessibility point of view, why the escalator is as close to, you know, the central staircase. But what is the idea here? Is it that people will just sit on these stairs? When you get up to the top, what do you get? What is this soffit made of? What is this space? Where are the handrails? Where are the balustrades? There's just like a lot of, it's like these architects had like a big idea somewhere and then they weren't quite able to resolve any of the details. So what you have is like this mix of 6 or 7 sort of unresolved ideas rather than just one idea done really well. What's that you're saying, Cal? This could have been a box? Who knows? Maybe. Image 5 references. Yeah, the green references are all fine. These are cool images. Look, 209, who am I to say? I don't love your project because it's hard to quite understand what the project is. Maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here. Let me just try. A pathway loop transports the visitor from the park to the main entrance on the 3rd floor. So your main entrance is on the 3rd floor. So maybe, is this like the idea is that the building is a park and that you sort of are encouraged to try and to kind of move through this sort of artificial park and then enter the building on the 3rd floor? They're inspired by organic, natural shapes. Inside the museum, spaces are separated by wooden walls coated in turva, a method of protecting wood with a long history and marine connection. It's all fine, like it all sounds good. I think you needed more time or you needed more kind of resource here, like more resources to sort of execute and communicate the idea of the project. Because like I said, I don't think anyone here has intentionally done a bad project. I just think this one could have done it with a little bit more time in the oven. So I'm going to move it along. I think I've said everything that I can possibly say. Although, hold on. Sketch. Oh, beautiful. Love a sketch. These little images are nice too. Okay. 209. I think you just needed a little bit more time. Moving it along. 210. Admer. Okay. Is it really bad that every time a project sort of starts with a low-res image, I'm kind of like, yuck. I'm not talking about the quality of the actual image and what it contains. I just mean like the low-res image. Who knows? So I can't really read this at all. I have no idea what this is. It looks like there's like a little fishbowl here. Some indication of a green roof. Folded facade. Giant canopy. Orange ball. Image 2. Again, not great images. There is a section, that's nice. So there's like a dome here. Image 3. Looks like it's drawing over a model. Nice image. Not a fan of this canopy here, personally speaking. I think it's going to be very windy in here. It's going to be quite an unpleasant space to be in. I think the concept of a canopy generally is to offer cover and shelter from the weather, but then this is too tall. I don't think it will work the way it's intended to work. If we sort of just got rid of these columns and had this projecting box through the main mass, it could be quite interesting. But the idea that the columns are there make me think that this is supposed to be designed as some sort of protective canopy. Not sure. Low res image again. Sorry, 210. Maybe it's not even your fault. Maybe it's the way the project was sort of uploaded, but low res images, man, they're not helping at all. References. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to move it along. Actually, that's it. That's all I can do on this one. That's the first 10 projects of the third 100. I'm beginning to sound like a crazy person here. What do you think? Have I been unfair on any of these? Some people have been saying I haven't been harsh enough on a lot of them, but I'm not trying to be harsh on any project. I'm really not. I'm trying to say something good about all of them, because a lot of people work really hard on these submissions. So I'm going to leave it there for today. A shorter episode for sure, but another 10 projects, and we're going to push ahead. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. Remember, I'm going to get back to every comment that I can. Thanks for supporting. Let's keep going. All the best. Goodbye. Talk soon.